have my audio turned on. Whoops. That would have been BAD for the rest of this project. So yeah, I'm gonna do, let me show you guys the renderer. So like I said before, there is the Redshift renderer. I don't have that. It's a much more high-end rendering engine. It's nice, but the simple renderer is fine for us. You know, normally when you do these textures, you use them as like a base texture, right? And then you would take it into a Mari, a Substance Painter, a Marmoset, or something like that to do the final up-res textures, and then maybe even render it out of there. So, but for this project, for our purposes, we're gonna just leave it in here, right? We're gonna imagine that this is the end-all, be-all for our project, and everything is gonna come out of ZBrush, right? And you know, this is our image preview right here. So if we go into our render panel, everything's based on document size. And right now I have my document set to 4096 by 4096. So if I go into my render panel, I can go right here into my render properties, and then I would usually turn on some of these. I'm going to turn off a couple of these so that it makes it just our render a little bit faster. I do have my ambient occlusion turned on, right? Let's go. So BPRAO, this is where you would mess with some of those rays, the angle, the blur. This is if you have subsurface scattering turned on, this is where you would mess with it. And some of those other filters. This is my fog filter. I have it turned off. I'm not going to use fog for this. This is the depth Q. This will help your Z depth, intensity, softness. This determines this stuff is really far back. This is really in the front of the image, and that's what I should focus on. So you just have a bunch of these passes that you usually turn on, and whenever it's done rendering, I have it to save it right here. All right. So to do our render, we're just going to hit this render button right here. It's going to take a second to compute, do its thing. So the global illumination shadows are rendering, everything is doing its thing. I've turned off quite a bit of these, so we'll see what we get. So this is like the best render. Let's do BPR render. It'll take a moment to do its calculations, do its render. Watch that. So whenever it goes through, does all its rendering mumbo jumbo and fanciness, it spits out a bunch of different images, right? And those images I will then bring into Photoshop, and then inside of Photoshop I then composite a lot of those together using a bunch of different layers. So I'm just going to go through some of those with you. So the first thing I have is the background. What I did was I went to my my original concept, and then I removed the guy from the background. I might even go through and, you know, let me show you guys how I do that as well. Let me quickly show you guys. So I removed the guy from the background. In Photoshop, I also can select like some of these elements if I don't want any of these elements in there, because I don't want it to conflict with my 3D or anything like that. I'll just use the new kind of AI filter to generate something that doesn't look like that. So I'll go here, generate fill. Usually you can put a prompt in here that says something, but I just hit generate, and it should generate something that kind of takes all of that stuff out, maybe blends it with the background a little better. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do, just wait for it to do its thing. So as you guys can see, now there's no more of those crosses or anything like that, which is pretty cool. And let's hide this so that it hides all of that. So, and what it does is it really gives you three different options of what you want to see. So if you know, I like this one's got a little more interesting things going on there. That's number three. Number one is a little more like that. Number two, it's got the lightning going across. And you can keep generating till you get something that you really like. So I kind of like this one, right? This one's pretty chill. And then I go through and with all the layers that I have rendered, I'll show you what they are. So let's start from this guy. Alright, so this is like the base render that it spits out. Alright, and it's okay, right? It's an okay render, but you're gonna want to I also render out a mask. So this mask is what I use to cut out the background. I just use the magic wand to select the background out of it and then take the background out. And now that my background is out of the image, I have one where it's just the specular. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is like a specular map, and this is like my own kind of workaround for a spec map. So like, let me show you where you would. Oh, it's still rendering. It's still doing its thing. This thing is taking forever. I think my lighting is going crazy on it. But what I usually do is I go into my into the material, the matte caps that it has, and I find like this super reflective one, and this just gives me a good reflectivity for the model. And then I use this to, like, if I have something like that's metallic or something like that that I want with extra sheen on it, I'll use that to add the sheen to the model. And then I throw a mask on it, and with the mask, all right, let me still be cap. All right, and then you can paint out what you don't want. All right, and then you can leave in what you want to have that specular on it. All right. So this is like a good way to, if you want to add a little bit of sheen to things, this is a good way to add it in post. Right, when they say fix it in post, this is kind of what they mean, right? So you're gonna wanna, you know, these are supposed to be stone. Make sure that they're stone. Another thing you can do is set material IDs up, and what material IDs help you do is they help you isolate different parts of the mesh. So now I can, so if just this part's supposed to be metal, I can leave that part as a metal, and then I can affect what I need to affect. Okay. Alright, it can also be good for lighting as well. And what I like to use it for is kind of like, it can add like extra lighting to it. So you see how like we've got that nice speck right there. I like that. I can leave that there, but I might cut it off on these stone kind of gravestones. Right. And what I usually do, I'll click back and forth just to see what my effect is. And you're just building these kind of like the same way you built everything else, slow and steady, right? You're just building it slowly. So this is the shadows. Let me show you what it looks like on full blast. All right. Let me disable this. So this is what the shadow mask looks like. So what it does is it finds the crevices. It's like a cavity map, and it puts black there and then white on the everything else. So what I like to use it for is I like to use it to kind of push the dark parts of the model. So I might do something like an overlay or a soft light, right, toggling back and forth just to see which one looks better. And then I never keep it at 100% opacity, right? You just kind of want it to emphasize, to accentuate what you've already got going. Right? You don't want it to add too much color to it, so you know, might cycle through. Overlay's not bad. See, overlay gives it this kind of sheen, and then soft light just kind of adds to that. So I'm going to do soft light, reduce it quite a bit. What you can do from here on out is then grab your brush, right, and the parts that you don't want affecting that, you can essentially take it out. And this is usually the process for a lot of, like, if you're going to finish something out, you're going to want to take your brush out, make sure that you're putting the information where you want it to be. Right? Let's see what multiply is. Yeah, I kind of like multiply. So now we've got some much better still soft light, and then so another thing you guys can do is whenever you see your model, depending on how it comes out of the render, you're gonna want to throw some of these, maybe a level, right? And this allows you to kind of start fiddling with the lights, the darks. This is the mid value, this is the dark, and then this is the whites, and you can bring all of it out. So I like to kind of throw some of these on to give myself some more fidelity when it comes to how this stuff looks. Right? Too dark. Just making it pop a little bit more. Posterize is always good to like kind of mesh everything together. Another thing that helps is kind of like a noise pass. It kind of blends everything together. Makes it look like it's all part of the same cohesive world. Okay, the render's done. So now this is what you would get out of here. Right. So let me show you guys how to save it real quick. So I'll just click it, make a new folder. Let's do comp. So this is the BPR composite. It's going to save that in there. Go back to my render, shaded, the render, boom, Z depth, boom, render, shadow, boom. These are like the basics that you'll really need. Right? And then inside of Photoshop, or whatever package you're using, you can then bring those. You can bring those in. So let me show you. Those are probably higher resolution than the ones I've got right now. So let me do. So the composite. So here's what the composite looks like. It's pretty nice resolution. And then I can drag the rest of them. Right, I'm just going to drag them on top. Z depth. Boom, just like that. So the first thing you usually do is you want to grab your mask. You either grab the black values or the white values and invert it. Alright, so if I grab my black values like so, I can go here, Shift Control I, and then boom, if I now make it disappear, I've got my background. I already showed you guys how to get this guy, and merge these together. And grab this, Control C, Control V. This will be quite a bit smaller. Just scaling it up. Alright. So the BPR shadows is pretty cool. Like I said, you know, I might want to throw that on. There you go. Soft light. Then I would go into my adjustment layer. I was saying before, maybe add a curves, right? Add the curves to that. Doesn't look so bad. Or tree looks like tree lines and stuff, and grass looks like grass. I should have made that grass a little blue in the render, but that's fine. Another way to get around that in post is, right, you can go into your image. Let me show you a quick way. So if I had something that I wanted to make a different color, right? So I want to make this grass a little blue. I go to my adjustments, and I would go into my, is it color balance? No, it's not color balance. So image, adjustment, channel mixer, yes, channel mixer. All right, so I'm gonna go to my green channel, and so you just need to find the right channel for it. Because depending on the channel is depending on what you're going to want. So now, so what you're trying to do is, the idea is to isolate the hue that is affecting that color. So with the green, what's making it green is the absence of red. So you want to then change that. Right, but you have to remember that it's going to do that for all of these pieces. So you're going to want to have these pieces kind of isolated as well. So that's taking out some of the blue. That's introducing way more blue into there, right, out of the red channel. So you would just go into all of the different channels and then increase the green in there, right? But you want to make sure, right, like I said, that you've got the right channel selected, and you want to have everything isolated. So that's how I would go about it. I would probably, isolate all of the grass and stuff, or separate him. I'd separate the foreground from the background, so I would render him as his own thing, hide everything else, then render the grass and stuff in the back as their own thing, render the stones and everything as their own thing, and then I would bring them all back into Photoshop, stack them back up, and then as I stack them back up, I can then have more isolated control. Or there's another way, which is just making material IDs. So like I would make an ID for each of these. So like each of these would represent a different color. And based on that material ID, I can then select that piece and then make it, what it's supposed to be. All right. So that's what I wanted to show you guys real quick. And then another thing is, he's got kind of these glowing eyes. So I can address that. So I'll just hit B on my keyboard. So let me copy. Let's go Control V. So this is our reference right here. And I'm just gonna hit B and then Alt. So that selects that color. So now I might wanna kind of just bring it up a little bit. Hide this guy, and then hit B on my keyboard, right, and then make sure that I've got the eye selected. And this is part of like the post-process workflow. His teeth kind of glow too a little bit, so maybe we do a little glow for the teeth. All right, and then you're gonna want to set it to one of these blending modes. Lighten works pretty well. Let's see if there's something better than lighten. Ooh, linear dodge isn't bad either. So little things like that, and then if I wanted to, right, because everything I'm doing now is like in post, right, I can hit Alt here, and then I got my flow kind of up a little bit, so maybe I can eraser. Just get one more. B Alt. And then E, the eraser. And I use this to maybe clean this up. And I would use this to maybe like make extra strands of hair that look like it's kind of out of place. Right, and it's very subtle, but like little things like this will help, take your characters, take your things to the next level. So, this is, part of it. Like you're going through and, maybe I can do more. Right, I'm just looking at the reference and trying to see, I'm trying to add a little bit more to it. Right. So just to make it look like these fine hairs, and then I'm color picking from the actual color of the hair itself to give me some of these details, right? So I'm using that to give me some of these. I'm grabbing from the darks to make the darks so that it looks like it blends into the hair, right? And it's going to be hard when you're really far away from it to tell the difference, whether it's a brush stroke or it's actual geometry. And whenever you're dealing with, like, if you're making projects for packaging or you're doing a game art cover, right? The work isn't done when you hit render. You don't just say, all right, cool, I'm done. Let me go home, y'all. I'm going to catch y'all tomorrow. No, there's a lot of post-processing work that needs to get done with a lot of this stuff. So, you know, you're going back in, you're making sure things like this looks natural, looks real, right? You want to have these kind of soft skills because it's really what takes your work to that next level. It's really what makes employers go, all right, so this guy's he's a little more talented than just hitting the render button, right? So things like this will take your model to that next level if you're looking to do stuff like this, right? So now I'm just, making sure that everything kind of looks natural, right? And depending on where you work, right, it might need to go through like the art director, so I want to make sure that people who need to know are in the loop of what you're doing, how you're accomplishing things, right? The client won't care about the work as long as you get to the end product correctly, but you still need to show whoever you're working for, whoever you're working with, hey, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm working with. Let me increase the smoothing of this a little bit too, so that whenever I erase, there you go, I'm getting a much more decent transition. Right. Actually, I'm going to do it from the top so that I have. There we go. All right. The thing is, you do it up close like that, but then you pull away, and it looks, oh, okay, it looks natural, it looks real, right? And for things like this, if it's like just a concept character too, like you can definitely get really far doing a lot of this way. So like I've also got some of these kind of glowy bits here as well. I'm gonna go back to my glowing layer. Another thing is try to name your stuff. Try to name the stuff you're working with, right? The idea for me to on your own personal projects, go fucking wild, right? Like go crazy. Like if you want to name everything 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then guess which layer you're on, have at it, Hoss. But if you're working with people, you want to make it as simple as possible that when they pick up your file, when they pick up your folder, when they pick up your work, they can easily just start getting to work. You don't want them to be like, oh my God, what the hell do I gotta do? Now I gotta decipher the hieroglyphics that is your work process. Name your shit right. Name it properly. Give the things the right naming convention, right? When you do that, when you make people's lives easier when you're working with them, it's easier for them to go, yeah, that guy was awesome. That guy was cool. It was really nice to work with him, right? But if you're making their life harder, right, with your workflow, they're not going to want to work with you, because if you ever left the company or if something ever happened, if you had to take a sick day, nobody can pick up your project from where you left off. Nobody can just go, hey, this is what so and so was doing. This is how how I need to accomplish it, because this is due today or this is due tomorrow. So you want to make it easy for people to pick up your project and go, all right, I know exactly what he was doing. I know exactly how to accomplish what needs to be accomplished for the project, because he left us such good good instructions, such good workflow to come back to. All right. So I'm just going to add some more of these kind of glowing bits to this guy. All right, let me go over my reference a little bit. So these are a little more on the red side, right? You know what I mean by, so this, his eyes are a little yellow, and these have a much more of like a red kind of tinge to them. So I'm gonna add maybe another layer, and then Alt, I'm gonna hit X on my keyboard, and that alternates between my color swatch, my foreground and my background color. So if you hit X on the keyboard, it just alternates between them. I'm gonna hit X. I'm gonna select something more in the middle for it. So now I can go back to this jacket. I kind of already made some of these impressions in here. All right, so like this would be the inside. Then, all right, I got some already in here. So he's got some kind of glowing bits that happen here, and I just want to add those to it. All right, put some like right here. All right, he's got some sort of magic running through him, and that's what you're seeing going on. So let me go here, and then let's go put some right here. And then I'm going to hit X on my keyboard again. And maybe what I want to do is, instead of just doing this, I'm going to go up in my color picker so that I've got a brighter kind of texture going for me here. All right. Same here. Same here, just doing the same thing. All right, and this is part of it. I'm telling you guys, man, these steps are what's gonna take your models from, okay, he just rendered it out, to, oh, okay, he knows what he's doing. He's taking it to the next level, right? So don't be afraid to get into Photoshop, get your hands dirty, enhance your photos. It's never just done whenever you hit the render button. Right, that's a lot of misconception. Is I hit render, cool, it looks good out the render. No, it doesn't look good yet. Right, you need to go in through, add some more characteristics to it. You know, every single film, every single movie that you watch, guys, it has to run through a pass of Photoshop. It usually runs through a pass of After Effects, right? This is part of the industry. This is part of it. Like it just needs that little extra oomph, whether it's color correction, whether it's adding blurs, it's gonna go through one of those phases. So you need to start getting comfortable doing things like that. All right. So with this, this is cool. Now I'm showing you guys how I would go about. Let me see then. See if I would then I can cycle through. There we go. That's linear dodge. It's like an add. Well, this is not bad. Vivid light. This isn't bad either. Linear light. Okay, what's this one? Color dodge. I think I'm leaning between color dodge and linear light. So what I might do now is I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my blurs. I'm going to hit it with let's hit it with a little Gaussian blur. We're going to reduce that. Alright, I just want a little bit, just a little blurry. Alright. Then I can go back in. Here we go. Like so. just going in, you're just, right, you want to learn these tools because they will help you just take your projects to the next level. So essentially what that guise and blur kind of does is it blends everything together and gives it a blur, kind of a glow effect to it. And then I'm going back now, and now I'm just adding, right, adding some more of these glowing bits to it. So now it looks kind of like he's got some of these glowing parts inside of him, right? And after all of this, you're going to want to probably wrap it up in like a noise of some sort, something like that. And yeah, to give it more of the feel you're looking for. But don't be afraid to just experiment with some of this stuff too. It really does help. So now I've got that going for me. Let's see if I can comp some of this depth in there. Okay, let's go to natural filters. Now I'm going to try this depth blur. See what it does. There you go. So you guys can see what's happening, right? So I'm blurring out the background. So this is like a new filter that they have in here, which is, it actually works pretty well. I'm surprised at how well it works. And then I'm focusing on my character, and I'm dropping everything else out of focus. So now this is pulling the eye into my character a little more. I can even increase the blur strength a little more, maybe increase the haze. So now it looks like he's kind of like in this foggier kind of background. Maybe even change the temperature a little bit. Instead of yellow, let's go. See, that's too yellow. I want it to be a little more blue. There we go. Let's go more blue to blend it a little better with the background. Hit OK. I didn't even need my Z depth pass. That's fine. That's cool. As you guys can see, it's a little more sharp as you come to the front here. Alright. So I've got my curves in here. I also want to throw on like a levels. Right? Like I told you guys, midtones, blacks, whites. So what I do is I kind of bring out my mids, and then I punch in the darks a little bit. That's a little too much, but just something subtle. All right. Subtlety. Off, on, off, on. Right. It's adding a little. It's adding kind of like a little bit of contrast to it. All right. If your exposure settings off, you can come in here and mess with the exposure. The offset is good. This is the gamma correction. All right. So add a little +3. And then I usually add like a posterize. Right, this is what posterize does. It makes everything kind of uniform a little bit, but you want to just kind of bring it up a little bit. Alright, I'm looking at some of this banding here to make sure that everything looks good. Right, and you know, I didn't want to do more of the hair just because I just wanted to show you guys some of those techniques, right? I just want to show you guys, all right, like I would go in, just throw in some hair strands and hair, you know, based on the concept. Obviously, he's got like a bunch more over here that you could probably just do to just accentuate it a little more. I don't know if this is a curlicue or a scar. I think it's a scar, but that's fine. So yeah, we've got a character here. We've got, it looks very, very gruesome. He's got a little bit of magic in here. All right, another thing you might want to do is our glow 2. All right, maybe throw on B right there. I'm going to increase the size of this, reduce the opacity. All right, and then just something like that. Something like that. Just add a little extra touch to it. All right. So these are the little things that I would do to kind of take the model to the next level, right? I'll leave the depth pass out. And like I said before, I usually would render out like that metallic shade on it. So like if I go here, not droplet, what's it called? Let's see, gradient. There you go. So there's something like this, right? It gives you a lot of highlights. I would render this pass on top as well. And you know, I'm looking for, you know, some highlights, some of this sheen stuff that's going on here, and I would use that to composite into my scene. All right, this one's got a little bit of blue in it. I like that too. So if I, you know, I just do a quick VPR and show you guys what it would look like a little better. But yeah, just going back and forth, you can see that, you know, it came a long way from just when we started it all. So, you know, I would do like, so like this part of the jacket has like loose threads, right? I can go in here, make a new layer, and then I would just go B, right? I'll do the same thing that I was doing over there, and you know, just some loose threads. Let's do the opacity back up to 100. So you get the darker one first, right? And you just want to and another thing is, if you model this into it, you don't have to do this. But if you didn't model it into it, there's this term called fix it in post. You know, it's for moments like this. You know, and sometimes you can even find brushes that'll let you do it a little easier. Let's see which one's this one. There's like, you'll find some more like brushes. Ooh, this would be cool for like stains and stuff like that on the jacket or something. Give yourself a little more interest, because he's got like some dirt and stuff on his jacket that I didn't put in there during to make this look like kind of like a rip. Alright, so I have an origin of where these are supposed to be coming from. Alright, these are coming from here. If you hold down shift, it draws a straight line. Alright, so it just draws a straight line from wherever you click. So Photoshop tidbit there. Alright, so you get something like this going. Then you would hit maybe, let's go E on the keyboard, and then, alright. At this point, you guys get the process, right? It's the same as everything else we've been doing. I'm just switching back and forth between E and B on the keyboard, which is the eraser and the brush. Just simple, super simple, just going through, trying to give myself something to work with here. Alright, treating the lighter parts like it's the highlight, the darker part like it's the shadow. We're just doing that over and over in different parts of it. And like everything, the eye can only catch so much of the information. It'll say, oh, this is there, this is there, this is there. But if you have a lot of the general pieces in place, trust me, it's going to be hard for people to be like, oh, that's not real thread, that just looks like brush strokes, you know. So that's the main idea. That's your selling point. And a lot of the times, even with video games, right? Like when I teach people about creating characters for games and things like that, I always tell them, listen, you might be modeling this stuff at like too crazy a resolution, because you have to imagine that the character on somebody's screen is going to be like this big. Right? Like, and most people are either playing it on their phone or they're playing it on their tablet, and the character's this big, so you putting like a 4K texture inside his left wristband is actually a detriment to, you know, to what you're trying to do. So, you know, I try to caution against like sometimes over detailing things, because the resolution that we're watching and consuming a lot of this stuff in isn't even there yet. You know, so like that's another thing you guys need to keep in mind too, is you got to think, How many people do you know with like 4K TVs? How many people do you know with 6K TVs? So making 6K textures when most of the, you know, shit that people are gonna watch is in 1080, you know, like I guarantee you, people have watched more things in 720 than you have in 4K and 6K, right? Like, and it's supposed to be, that's the future, right? Like, so you got to think about things like that. It's like, oh, you know, it's the future, but you need to design for now. And now, most people are consuming their shit on tablets, on phones, you know, very very small handheld devices, and these devices aren't aren't in 4K. Nobody's phone is in 6K yet, right? And you making a model that's for 8K and things like that, well, it's not going to work unless, you know, it's for a movie or something. And then by the end of it, it's getting down-resed anyway. So you've got to keep a lot of these kind of things in mind. So something like this is cool. Let me erase this one. And you can just duplicate it, right? Use the warp, right? Do it one time like that. That's my motto. Like, you do it one time, just duplicate it again. Make another one. Make another layer of it, right? And then you can go in and image adjustment. Maybe increase the levels, decrease the levels, right? So that this part's darker, lighter, right? Things like that. Where now it looks like, oh, he's got like a kind of a rip there, you know. So little things like that. You can even then duplicate it some more, right? Like if I have some on the other side, so I'm just gonna boop, duplicate, Control T. Let's move this bad boy over yonder. Right. Do the same thing. Boom. Warp. I can warp this guy a little bit to match the direction of his jacket a little bit more. Alright, maybe then duplicate this. Control T. Warp it again. Alright. Work smarter, not harder. Alright. So maybe I'll then take this guy, go image, adjustment levels, make this guy just a little bit lighter to differentiate. Right? By the time you get out here, you can't even notice the change and the difference. So yeah, it's does anybody have any questions for me, comments, concerns? At this point I can start to field some of your questions. I mean, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this class, and you know, you've learned something, picked something up, whether it's from, you know, some of the motivational stuff that I talk about, or just some sculpting stuff in general. Does anybody have any questions for me? No? No questions? All right, cool. Well, on that note, I think that's going to be it for today and probably this class, in the sense that we're not probably going to meet again. I mean, hopefully we meet in the future, and you introduce yourself, say, hey, I took that one class with you. I'll say what's up, dap you up, buy you a drink or something. Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Ooh, another thing I like to sometimes add is a vignette. Let's see, filter gallery. Alright, so let's do a vignette. Let me get my gradient out. Let's just do that. let's invert it a little bit, do the reverse. Probably a lot. I'm just gonna do like something like that. There we go. Different one. There we go. I like this. Alright, so yeah, that's it for the class. I look forward to hearing from you guys in the future. Let me know how everything goes, and yeah, have a good rest of your day, guys. Alright, later.